Zim in the morning, and at the Tunguska it's cold, and that means I go spinning. And right here in front, where the waterfall is, this should also work really well. So, set up out, and then of course first have a look where we position ourselves. I would say just right here, directly opposite the waterfall, and then I cast this area here simply. So from the stones here, across of course to the waterfall, up to here at the top. And this area I now test first, and quite simple with spinner. Yeah, from the setup just like that with 9 kilograms fluorocarbon. That is not so bad already. And then the Hornet series should work quite well here right now. The Hornet here with a size 8 hook with tassel down there, so with red tassels, red feathers, and then out with it. Happy hour begins, and then I test here first. Now we must of course first set the speed and now check at which speed does the lure move more or less. Whether I pull it here slower. So at 20 it just moved a bit. Let's see. And there comes already the first bite. Look at that. The first small pink salmon. Pink salmon is one of the fish I like to take with me here because they are really worth it. Yeah, tempo is good here. You see it down at the action bar. It flickers a little now. That means I pull here just slightly diagonal against the current, and thereby the spinner comes into rotation really nicely. And Zach, there comes already the next bite. I think from the break, this should also fit. And what do we have here? Arctic Grayling, also very nice. Yeah, this is how I like to do my happy hour here, and then let's just see if this whole thing is worth it here. There were already some reports in the last days now and then, and yesterday HSV Rambo also wrote, just try here. I made 600 to 700 silver here in 1 hour. So that's how it was earlier before when it started here at the Tunguska. Back then, you often had such net runs, gladly 500 silver plus, and so I tried that further again. So also here the brown trout, and I believe relatively slow reeling seems to work quite well right now. And then let's just try that too. Sometimes you also see it when a fish spawns, they arise, so you pull through a spot. There are effectively no fish standing there. We pull through different spots, trigger, or activate such a spot. Then from a certain distance, a fish comes swimming. And especially with this current, it may be that it swims a bit slower. So that means then comes the small fish, spawns further back, runs after the lure, and tries the whole time to get the lure. And as I said, especially in the current, it is often so that they come behind more difficult. Well, accordingly, you must then reel slower, and then the fish make it too. So you can try reeling a bit slower here. And that seems to go quite well right here at the spot. Nevertheless, I cast in the other direction again and even more towards the waterfall directly, because so far the fish here are relatively small, and the next small one, yeah, so fish are there, but so far indeed far too small. So once again out directly towards the waterfall. Now a bit faster again, also immediately a bite, already again a good sign. So from the distance, you must come quite far out. If you stand here with too little or too high casting weight from the setup and the lure does not come far enough, then I think it is more difficult here to catch anything at all. Zach, the next one. So frequency is there, lure works. Of course, it could also be a bit due to the weather. We simply have gray, cloudy weather, no sun at all. Yeah, that is already good. But every cast a bite, that is at least a good sign. Now it's only the question, do we get the fish here one size larger? At least keeper size they should be. Keeper size up to in direction of trophy. Trophy, of course, best, right? So now I cast once more exactly with the current, so against up top a test, of course at full speed, and then reduce again that it is maybe not quite so fast. So it comes also into wobble, and there goes another one in, which is a bit larger. A little stop and go I just did, but despite everything as it is right now, it will be difficult. Actually, I have this one as target fish. Lenok would be really, really nice. Lenok is worth it for XP. Lenok is also worth it later for silver. That would be ideal. Pink salmon and Lenok. And maybe I must reel a bit slower or once more work with stop and go so that the lure goes more down towards the bottom. Maybe they stand a bit deeper right now. That I must definitely test again. And now that I know Lenok is here, I also test other colors and other lures. And the next bite, yeah, that seems to work quite well here. And the next pink salmon, very good. I just changed the lure, again red. And then to the Veikko. Veikko in 8G is an excellent size also for example, playing the medium light setup, the Belaya setup, which I also like to present. So that also works very well. Also from the casting weight, you can stand well with this Belaya setup because yeah, that is enough. You come also really far out with it. That is simply the most important point. 8 John Veikko. That is of course far too heavy for ultralight fishing. But also here with the setup I use right now, so with a light or medium light setup, you can probably fish really well here. I stand now still more at an angle, so at right angle to the current, and simply pull across the current and just reeled loosely through. Only here speed 20 to 25, so in this range, and then the pink salmon's bite, that is already a good sign. Just loosely pulled through. I already think whether I should go bigger. Maybe even with the 12G spinner, so clearly larger. Maybe that triggers even more the big pink salmons. Yeah, and now I am here with the 12G spinner, and that also seems indeed to trigger the pink salmons. In this case, well, again a Lenok. Yeah, again a small Lenok, but that seems indeed to go quite well. So, 12G spinner now also from Hornet, speed around 30-32. Also there you see the action bar flicker. So the spinner rotates nicely here with the current, and also there, again, pink salmons, or one pink salmon went in, and again the Lenok. That is already quite okay. Nevertheless, I must say, from frequency it is not really that yet. I think I have not yet found quite the right lure. Now some sun comes out. I'm curious if this changes a bit now. Slightly cloudy is always really nice. So some sun, some clouds, usually works really well when spinning. And we must remember, it changes again and again. So adjust speed, adjust retrieving method, also change lure colors sometimes. That is similar as at the Yama, or of course also at the Belaya. With different weather conditions, we must also act differently when spinning. So test different lures, different retrieves, and so on. As I already said, topwater works actually always quite well. So also topwater lures would now be a possibility, and I think I test that too. Maybe the small popper, the normal popper in red, or such a walker. The walker series also always works quite well. Again, a small brown trout, so red seems to work quite well right now. That is already a good sign. With red lures, you at least get a result here, and then you must try what is interesting for the fish right now, what is relevant, more at the surface or more down, pulled deeper, pulled slower, or fast at the surface. And there goes one in. Yes. That was now relatively fast at the surface, continuously pulled. Again, only a small Lenok. Well, they must get a bit bigger. And I would almost say with Lenok, you could even go up to the big walker, because the walker, well, is also such a classic Lenok lure that always works. No, so the small poppers do not yet deliver really good bites. Yeah, we have here a bit larger one, but they deliver relatively constant, right? Also, the brown popper from the series delivers regularly well. You have the advantage that with the smaller poppers, regularly also other fish go in. So also here the Graylings are with it, and of course you can also gladly take them. They are also worth it. So also ultralight on popper here, instead of only targeting Lenok and pink salmon, just take everything that bites here. And the self-made walker also delivers. Okay, good to know. Another nice Lenok, 1.2 kilograms. Yeah, the self-made walkers, you can only craft them or you must buy them with gold. So either craft them if you have skilled lure crafting, or just check Discord. There is also a list of players who can do all this. And then just kindly ask, send the materials and see if someone can build it for you. But that one also works again and again. By the way, also a very good lure, or the whole series, a worthwhile lure series, also for Elk Lake. Can be used there quite well too. Small disadvantage, they have relatively bad flight characteristics. You must then have really good casting weight so that you can get them out far enough. To lead these poppers, or small wobblers at all, the rods need special requirements. That was also a question in the live stream chat. If you just buy yourself a rod, random and on your own initiative, definitely pay attention not only to casting weight and load capacity, but also to sensitivity. That is also important. At least 5 out of 10 is important. That is a very important point. If you buy a rod under 5 out of 10, you cannot use it for surface lures for wobblers. You just don't get into twitching or into jerking. So the right rod, it is not only about load capacity, but also important, of course, casting weight so that you get the lures far enough. And also such details like sensitivity. That's why the rods in the videos, what to buy under level 20, what to buy from level 20, and what to buy in endgame. That's why these are the special rods and reels, because there's usually more behind it than only load capacity. Well, that's how it looks here now. Quickly sorted by weight. I would say that is definitely still expandable. In terms of size, the pink salmons were already quite okay. The Lenoks, yeah, many small ones with it. Only 2 over 1 kilish. So in silver, maybe around 300 silver. I'll check in a moment. That is not yet a big catch, if even 300 silver. So that is really still expandable. Could of course have been due to the really cloudy weather at the start. Zach, because now with sunshine it already goes better. That is good. Good sign, but it is also cold right now, and you must actually take advantage of that. Relatively cold weather, a cold weather phase, right now again at the Tunguska, and that is usually always a good period to fish here. With spinners, with topwater lures, or also with the Veikko spoon. Also, the Veikko spoon was not bad. Maybe I can test longer with the whole Veikko series and see if Zach and the next one, see if it's really worth it with the Veikko. Yeah, maybe it is mainly due to the sunshine, clear difference to the start. Now, clearly bigger fish, also right here, now that the sun really came out. In between, the slightly cloudy was not enough. But in full sunshine, on a sunny day, that works, and there goes even one into the break. Well, someone wants to show again that they are there. Or do we have a pike? No, also again a nice Lenok. Well, this can continue. All right, here on the self-made red lure. And I can also well imagine, as I said, that with sunshine the fish run much better also on other lures. Both spoons and also spinners. There should be more possible. But you can see how strong the influence is of the weather, that it can really be so different, so decisive, whether it works or not. Now let's check the net quickly. What silver it brings. The whole thing you can pull through until about 23 o'clock. Then it is really dark. You can still try in the night. Also then Lenok and especially brown trout can bite, but it will definitely be less. But if you just want to fish through a whole hour day and night, it can still work also at night. At night you could also change lure colors. Also black lures work again and again. Yeah, and it gets dark. Coffee order we don't have, but price-wise we have now $250, also thanks to the last few Lenoks that went in. So you see in the end, Lenok is worth it. So if you found a lure that triggers Lenok or pink salmon, then stick with it. Much better also price-wise than the Graylings here. Although they are also not bad, you gladly take them. However, I would set the focus on Lenok and pink salmon. So much about the spot. Test, 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 as always. I tested around 10 different lures in this short time just to find out what can work. Different retrieves tested, so that the next day at sunny weather, 4 in the morning at the spot, you can make really good money. If this helped, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Till next time, tight lines.